Hey, welcome to Late Night with Larry. I'm your host, Larry D. We're here doing it once again. I'm here with my co-host, Vince. Vince, give me a shout out.
Hey, welcome back to Cryptid Central.
That's right. This is where the cryptid creatures hang out.
This is where they congregate.
That's right. So tonight, before we get started, as usual, we want you to hit that subscribe button. And if you have a sighting, a haunting, or a story you want to share with us, reach out to us, and you can do that via email at latenightwithlarry55@gmail.com. We're waiting to hear from you.
We're waiting anxiously.
That's right. And tonight we're going to talk a little bit about the UFO subject. But before we do that, as we always do,
A little bit of elixir for whatever ails you.
that's right. Cheers to you.
To you. Oh man, I'm feeling better already.
Oh, yeah. That's my Pfizer shot.
Whoa.
Yeah. So anyway, let's get the show on the road. We both were watching some, I wouldn't call them documentaries, but they're a series that has to do with the search for extraterrestrial life, aliens, and a little bit of the paranormal in general.
Right. There was a little paranormal, a little bit Skinwalker Ranch.
Right. Now, one of the things on this series, there's a couple episodes where they have supposedly interactions with UFOs.
Right.
Now, the footage that they provided, I thought it was pretty good footage, and me and my brother were talking off camera, and we're like, it would be really good to know what is really done for TV and if what is genuine, because
Right.
some of that footage was pretty convincing to me.
And if some of that was genuine, I mean, that's some awesome footage.
It is. And I was telling one of my coworkers that when we were up in the Haymas, that we've seen, and we've talked about it on previous podcasts, we've seen lights in the sky, one particular light one night that was just zooming back and forth. Just none of the aircraft I know that we have, even military.
Right, and like they discussed, there was no blinking lights like an aircraft, and this was pretty high up there in the atmosphere.
It was.
And it was not just zooming back and forth. It was zooming. It was coming to a dead stop.
It was, and I like how they even caught it as it pulsed.
Yeah,
and that's one of the big things that they say these craft do is, for one, they could just stop in midair. And sometimes when they're there, they just like radiate, they pulse, and sometimes they just glow bright and then just disappear.
Right. Now, when they showed that one pulsing, I thought about your son's video.
Right. Yeah. I mean, my son's, when we talked about this too, when they were driving back to Dallas, Texas, I'd say it was last 4th of July, they filmed a pretty good UFO, and we have to call it a UFO because we don't know what it is.
Right.
But it pulsed like that, and they had some pretty good footage.
Right. Now, in the first episode, they were out around Skinwalker Ranch, and it was interesting because they had a trail cam, and I don't know if it was a glitch, but there was something that looked like a wolf that just the camera was rolling and it appeared mid-frame just out of nowhere.
Right. It's like it just appeared out of thin air.
Right. You could see the wind moving the branches and stuff on the trees, and just in the middle of the frame, it disappeared. It appeared, and it was in mid-stride going across.
Right.
Now they said there's not any wolves up there, but
right.
I mean, they've also said that about here in New Mexico, and we both know we have wolves.
Right. And that particular piece of footage was mind-boggling, because that was one of the things I said, was this done for TV? Or if that truly did happen, what the hell? What the hell did I just see?
Right.
And that was interesting, very interesting. And I liked how they were up at Skinwalker Ranch because of all the stories that they've heard. And if anyone's watched a documentary or read about Skinwalker Ranch, there's some really crazy things going on up there. And they have that ranch locked down tight.
Right.
It's kind of like Area 51. You can't get in. And as soon as you reach the gates, here comes the guards to tell you, turn it around.
Yep. Now, at Skinwalker Ranch, they were going up to what they called UFO Hill.
Yes.
Where you get a good vantage point, and there was some lights over the next hill. It was just interesting. I don't know if it was legitimate or, like we said, was it for TV, but it was definitely interesting.
And like, what didn't they have a beam going straight up? Didn't they catch footage, or am I thinking of a different?
Maybe I didn't see that part, but
yeah, I think they like caught a beam of light going up, but then the lights just disappeared when they were going to investigate what it was.
Right.
But that's just typical of UFOs. There's so many UFO sightings. Even here in New Mexico where we live, there's just so many. I know that like Mexico has like sightings, and not just one UFO. They have sightings of groups of UFOs constantly.
Right.
And it makes me wonder why some areas are hot spots, like particularly here, New Mexico, Arizona, Nevada. We're a hot spot on this planet for UFO activity.
Now, is it because we're not as populated as other parts of the country? Is it, like they said, one theory is there's vortexes there where the UFOs could come in and out of other dimensions?
Well, that could be it. And I do think that because we developed the nuclear bomb here,
we got their attention.
Yeah, we definitely got their attention just by us playing with that type of force. Like one of the theories that we talked about before was when that bomb set off, if there is interdimensional connectivity, who knows what the fallout or just the repercussions of that bomb exploding did in other dimensions.
Right. And even if they just felt the shockwave, or they're like, wait, what are those monkeys doing?
What are they doing? They're like, someone go take the matches away from those kids. Right.
Well, that's funny because we've heard that plenty growing up.
Right. Exactly. So, it seems like the activity, it's getting more and more and more. And we know a lot of it was covered up. But also today, everyone has a camera, a cell phone camera, GoPros. Everyone is always loaded to do videos or whatnot. So I think that's another reason why we're getting so many sightings is people are just breaking out the cameras and saying, I don't know what that is. Let's film it.
Right. And not only that, before people were really afraid to be ridiculed, it'll ruin their life.
That was one of the biggest, and we know that airplane pilots were always afraid to.
Right, because it could cost them their job, their career, actually.
Actually, yes.
Now, going along those episodes, one of the next ones I watched was here in New Mexico. They were down in Roswell where they had the crash.
Right.
And it's pretty interesting because every time I watch a documentary about the crash, I learn new stuff.
Right.
They showed a map of the debris spread out over miles and miles in different directions.
Right. And if you look at how, and they're not the only ones that said it, how when this alien spaceship crashed, it hit and it bounced for miles. As it bounced, it slowly came apart.
Right.
And that's why debris was left for miles. But if you look at the recreation of how they think it happened, the initial impact, and then it like flew for a mile and hit again. And
yeah,
that a craft would have to be going pretty damn fast to skip that distance like a rock.
Right, exactly. And the family whose ranch they were on, there was rumors that they had some debris they had hidden in a cave back when it happened, and they buried it because, of course, that's the only way you're going to keep it from the government.
That's right.
And this team was trying to excavate. They found a cave. They were right in the middle of opening it up, and the family stopped them.
Right.
They said, "No, we don't want to have anything to do with this, because if they truly do have alien parts, the government's going to be crawling all over them." And
right. And let's go back to what you said about vortexes. I was watching something interesting, and they were talking about like Stonehenge and some of the rock formations around the world. And here in the Southwest, Chaco Canyon has a round rock formation, and they were talking about how these formations house energy inside of them, and that's why they're thinking these could have been possible vortexes, and that they could have used to not only siphon energy if they need it, but use them as doorways.
Right.
And it was an interesting theory, because everywhere there's rock formations that are in a circle like that, there's magnetic activity that just fluctuates beyond outside the circle. Once you enter, you get different readings, and around those circles, there's been a lot of UFO activity.
Now, you think are these vortexes natural? Did the aliens have a hand in building them?
Well, and like they said, one of the theories is if they truly have been coming here for thousands of years, and like the natives say, they were visited by the star people who taught them knowledge, such as some African tribes, and all the tribes worldwide have the same stories. If they did, then I think they taught them how to build these so that they could use them.
Right, kind of like a Stargate.
Right. Yeah.
And like you said, with there's magnetic fields, and we all know that you could charge batteries with the magnetic field.
That's right.
So it might be not only a doorway, but maybe a charging stop.
It can be. And the other thing they pointed out is that these aliens, they taught us technology, and it's not by happenstance that the pyramids align with Orion's belt. And if you go down to other pyramids, there's so many little, I don't want to say they're all pyramids, but little structures, and that throughout the world that all align with certain star constellations.
Right. Yeah.
And they said for that to happen, these people would have had to been master astrologers, because they were interviewing one astrologer, and he's like, without what we know today, we're still not as accurate as them.
Right.
They were pinpoint accurate.
Right. They were. Yeah, exactly. Now, I did see another documentary. It was about aliens. There's a temple in India. I forget the name of it. It's to the god Shiva. Now, it's carved out of a rock.
Right.
I don't know if you've seen it. It's carved in they said it took 25 years to carve for the monks. But scientists are saying no way, because they'd have to move like 100 tons an hour around the clock for 25 years.
Wow. So, well then, what kind of technology?
Well, that's what they were speculating, that they had extraterrestrial help. They came down because the cuts are so precise.
Right.
And then the aliens actually did it, and these their workers just hauled off the rubble.
Well, and that's the thing. If you go down to Peru and look at some of those structures, those are precision cuts, and they're saying, these look like laser cuts, because they're just so precise and smooth. And they said if it was done with the tool, you'd see the rugged edge and
chisel mark something.
Yeah, right. And they're not. They're just so precise. And then the way they set the stones. And they said the way that you can't even slip a piece of paper between them, that superheat could have melted the rock together. And who has superheat back then?
Right, exactly.
So there's some interesting theories about UFO technology and UFOs.
Right. Now, going back to the series we're watching, another episode was had New Mexico in it. Mm-hmm. It was an airline pilot. There was two aircraft. One was probably 15, 20 minutes ahead of the other one.
Right. One was the first one was a little twin prop.
Something like that. But he called, they called Albuquerque, the airport in Albuquerque. They said, what do you got? We saw something just fly over us.
Right.
And Albuquerque's like, nope, we don't have nothing on our radar. Right. So they called the other, I think it was American Airlines.
Yes.
And they asked him if he's seen anything. And he said no. And they told him, well, if you see anything in the next like 15, 20 minutes, let us know.
Right.
So lo and behold, he said it was a light.
Right.
And they were at what, 35,000 feet? he said?
35,000 feet. And his response was, oh, we just had a light fly over us.
Yeah, and they said it was 2,000-3,000 feet above them, but he said it was not reflecting the sun; it was an actual light in itself.
Right. And there again, and what the funny thing is that the tower didn't even see it.
Right.
So, these aliens, and I've heard stories like that so many times, that they have such I guess cloaking capabilities to where if they don't want you to pick them up, you're not going to get
Right.
going to get them picked up. But I don't know. See here, I know I've seen things in the sky myself, but you, the listener, make your own choice. I don't know if any of you've seen UFOs, but I don't see why it's not possible.
Right.
We send our satellites out there, and just our universe, our Milky Way, is so vast, and they say there's thousands more out there.
Right. Now, you don't have to be a UFO hunter or whatever. Just go out in your backyard at night and look up at the stars, and I don't know, chances are you're going to see something that you're going to say, what was that?
Right. Now, I know a lot of people were mistaking the Starlink satellites because they flew in formation.
Right.
They were thinking those were UFOs, but it was proven, no, that's Elon Musk Starlink satellites.
Right.
But when you see something zoom off, stop, and zoom back, that's not a satellite.
Right, exactly. And we've seen that several times.
Right.
Now, getting back to the series, when that ball of light or whatever flew over, he talked to the Albuquerque Tower, and they just said, okay. And he said there was no investigation or anything.
No, they just...
And getting back to that subject, that happened recently. It was another American Airlines pilot recorded something on a flight that left Albuquerque to Phoenix, I believe.
Right.
Now, in the series, they tried to get all the information, the flight information, all his coordinates, to figure out where they was coming from, because they also saw it in Colorado. It wasn't an aircraft, but people on the ground saw it.
Right. And the one that you're talking about, the recent one, the FBI verified that one.
Right. They came in and they verified it.
And they did go on record saying, we don't know what it was, but it's a UFO because we don't know what it was.
Right. Now, on the show, they got all the flight coordinates finally, and they determined it was coming from the Sedona area.
Right.
Now that they did another one on Sedona, and that's supposed to be one of the vortexes.
Right. And I've always heard that Sedona, you get a lot of the star children that go to Sedona. I guess some people call them hippies, but and they sit out there and they invite the UFOs to come visit and whatnot.
Well, the lady they had, she would sit on one ridge, and across there was a ranch that was personally owned or privately owned, and the Forest Service started she said basically harassing them, with violations, trying to get them to sell.
Right.
So they caved and they sold it to the government, and now it's locked up tight, just like Skinwalker Ranch, Area 51.
It makes you wonder, when they lock something up tight like that, what are you trying to hide?
Right. But anyway, they were sitting on the ridge, and she said she could see lights on the other mountain. I forget. She named all the mountains and ridges, but she would flash them with a laser. Right. And she said sometimes they would respond and flash back.
Well, and what was interesting on this series too is, do you remember where they set up the different colored the colored lights, and he hooked it to his computer, and it did a binary. It did the alphabet in binary, and when they did that, they actually got a response.
Right. And his theory is they might know binary because that's a computer language.
Right, and it's for them it'd be a simple language to learn.
Right, something they probably mastered a long time ago.
And that reminds me, when I saw them doing that, I said, you got this idea from the movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Yeah.
And
that goes back to another podcast about how Hollywood, how the government controls what Hollywood puts out there.
Right, it does. And that made me think of that, because when they did that binary code on the computer and the lights flashed in certain sequences, spelling out stuff. I thought, where have I seen this before? I was like, the late 70s, Close Encounters of the Third Kind. And that made me think, where did Steven Spielberg get that information from?
Right. I have vivid dreams, crazy dreams sometimes, but nothing like that.
No, I know. But it all ties in. But it was interesting on that series that he actually got a response when he did that binary code with the lights. And he did it on the ship as well. And
Right.
and they got a response because they weren't just looking in the sky. They started looking in the water.
Yep.
Because they were off the coast of, what was it, Malibu?
Yeah, Malibu.
Off the coast of Malibu. And the theory is that there's an underwater base there for alien technology.
Just because there's a lot of sightings.
That's right.
And a lot of people, they've seen them in and out of the water. They've seen them come out of the water.
Right. Well, let's take the UFO sighting that was released that everyone's seen on the internet, on the news, of the Tic Tac that the fighter pilot was chasing.
Right.
Well, before that footage, the pilot was actually, they were on their way to investigate a ship that was just hovering, cigar-shaped ship, hovering over the water, and little different ships were moving around. Now, when they got there, that's what they got, the little Tic Tacs that took off, and they decided to follow them. Now, I heard an interview with this pilot that they spoke to, and he said that he thinks these beings can read our mind, that they do have telepathy, because after that Tic Tac UFO shot off and they lost it, they told each other over the radio, let's go back to, they called it whatever, it was their rendezvous point.
Right. And it's a random, it's changed daily.
Yes.
It's a point where these fighter jets just kind of cruise around and wait for a call.
That's right. And when they got to the rendezvous point, which no one knew because, like my brother said, it changes constantly. When they got to the rendezvous point, it was there waiting for them.
Right. Now, they said, could the aliens read their mind, or could they hack the computers?
Right. So that right there, that would have blown my mind. I would have said, we're just chasing this thing, and it beat us here.
Right. Now, when the Tic Tac flew off, they said the Tic Tac was hovering above something under the water.
Right.
And after they lost the Tic Tac, they went back, and that was gone. And that's when they chose to go back to the rendezvous point. And that's when the other one was waiting for them.
Yep. So it's just things like that we can't explain. And I don't think that if we have that technology, I think we would already be using it to try and catch these things, or I don't know. I don't know what the government's doing. They lie so damn much.
Right. Well, misinformation and not giving us the whole truth. Now, there was a part in the series where, I guess this was before the Roswell crash. It was right after World War II.
Right.
Now, off the coast of Los Angeles, there was some UFOs. So they didn't know if it was aircraft, enemy aircraft, what it was. So LA went into a mandatory blackout.
Right.
The air sirens were on, the air raid sirens, and they started shooting the big guns up at them.
And that's actually called the Battle of LA.
Yep, the Battle of LA.
Yep. And and I think they shot like 14,000 rounds that night, and supposedly they hit one of these aircraft.
Right.
And, but who's the guy that owns Skunk Works? Bob? Do you know who I'm talking about? He's the one. He's the one that bought the Skinwalker Ranch from the family that was getting all this. You know who I'm talking about?
I know who you're talking about.
I want to. Anyway, he has said that we do have the technology to take ET home, and I'm like, wow. So there's some interesting things out there.
So if they have the technology, that makes, we talked about this off mic too. That makes me wonder, what technology does our military have that they're hiding from the world?
That they don't want to break out until they absolutely have to.
Right.
Now, we know they have these super lasers now that could, hit a missile and the energy makes a missile blow up. But what else do they have?
Right. And if that's what we know they have, I mean, who knows what what they have and they're not telling us. We're both military and we know how that works. A lot of when we were in the late 80s, early 90s, a lot of the technology linked or leaked out was 50s technology. Actually, it was obsolete by when they leaked it.
It was. They always want to give you the old shit that they're about ready to surplus.
Right, exactly. Now, getting back to the military, going back to the Sedona part,
Right.
there was somebody, I forgot who it was. He was hiking or doing surveying, and he came across the railroad tracks, and there were some railroad cars with typical military vehicles.
Oh, yeah.
And he said he went back an hour later and everything was unloaded. The railroad cars were still there, but it was empty, and the tracks just went up into the mountains, and he has no idea where all that. A lot of equipment too.
And it just disappeared.
Right. Now, they were saying there's theories that there's tunnels there as well as the theories here in New Mexico, there's tunnels.
Well, they call those DUMBs, deep underground bases.
Yeah, dubs.
Dubs. Yeah, I call them dumb because they're stupid.
Because they won't show themselves.
Yeah, that's right. No, but I've heard that we do have like highways underground that connect from one part of the country to the other.
Right.
And I've actually seen videos, and it's mind-boggling.
I actually work with somebody. He worked for one of these companies that they actually dug the tunnel. Now they contract different people because they don't want anyone knowing, the layout of the tunnel. So every contractor does a small piece, and that's all they know about.
Right. It was Elon Musk that they bought. What do they call a core? They call it a core. And when they were going to do the Hyperloop.
Okay.
And they were also going to do because Chicago's traffic so at rush hour so congested, they were going to do like an underground tunnel for commuting in Chicago. I don't know if that ever got done.
I don't know.
But I know the Hyperloop, they were all about that, to go from San Francisco to LA in like 45 minutes. And the theory is if they could get it from one end of the country to the other, you could go from, I think they said LA to New York in about an hour.
That's faster than a supersonic jet.
That's fucking fast.
I wish they could do that for me for work.
Me too.
I could stay asleep till the last minute.
But the more I think about aliens and alien technology, just from what I've seen in the sky, I'm not trying to shake anyone's faith or anything, but I do believe there is life other than us out in those skies.
Right. And just because your Bible, our Bible, don't mention them, don't mean they don't exist.
That's right.
They talk about a certain time here on earth. That's what the Bible talks about.
And if you read in the book of Genesis, it does say God created the heavens, not just heaven, the heavens and the earth. So that could be all these other solar systems. I mean, the whole space is the heavens.
Right.
Exactly. And I just think an all-powerful God like that wouldn't just create us. I think, he'd create someone to pick on us.
Or somebody to watch over us.
Or it could go either way. But
yeah, he could have created different types of beings and just watched how they progressed.
But you hear, even there on that, you hear theories about how some of them are here to help us and others are not.
Right.
So I guess we'll never know until we know.
Oh, we might know pretty quick.
We might, if we could get that thing, man, that
you know that thing?
That thing, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, no, I it's interesting. I won't let it shake my faith. I know what I believe, but I also want to know the truth.
I do too, and I think to know that there's someone out there that could be maybe 1 million more years advanced than us. And everyone still throws around the theory of the Anunnaki, that they came down from, of course, their star system, and they seeded us. That that right there that's gonna challenge your beliefs as a Christian,
right?
Because the Christian Bible teaches that we were created from the dust of the earth, and the Anunnaki theory is that they seeded us from probably primates that were already here on the earth. And I guess, like I said, we'll know when we know.
Yeah, we'll know when we know. But it's interesting to me, just all the theories. And like we always said, come with an open mind. You know, we're not trying to sway you one way or the other. We just want to make you think about it, you know?
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole purpose, is just to think about it. I'm not trying to convince you of anything.
Now, as far as aliens visiting us, maybe they're like, what are these guys doing? Because they could be a million more years advanced than us, ahead of us in advancement.
Right.
And with us getting the UFOs supposedly in the crashes, reverse engineering, they're like, wait a minute, these guys are progressing too fast.
Right. Well,
and the technology and the knowledge you have wasn't earned.
It definitely wasn't earned, so you won't respect it. It's given. But, you know, I've also heard that they have warned us that our technology is headed in the wrong direction. And,
Right.
and I've really thought about that. And I'm like, and they're right, because
Every new technology we find is headed toward military use.
not only that, if you look at our technology, we do have technology, but let's look at our energy uses, for instance. It's fossil fuel, which is destroying our environment. And, you know, and I heard a story on YouTube one time that this man was taken up in a UFO, and they showed him what the Earth was going to look like 1,000 years from now. And he said it was just in ruins. All the oceans were brown, the lakes were brown, everything was just polluted. It couldn't support life anymore.
Right.
And if that's, you know, their message, then, you know, I don't know. I'm just, like I said, I'm just telling you what I've heard and what I've seen. But I think we are headed on the wrong path, because we do depend on fossil fuels. But there again, what other choice do we have?
Right. And you know, there's a lot of debate about the global warming and stuff. And we do know it goes in cycles. I mean,
Right.
look at the Ice Age.
Right. And as we cut down forests, of course, we're going to release more carbon. Now we're getting better about, as we chop trees down, replanting. That's a must. We have to do that. But I think we should really look at our usage from trees, because trees benefit this planet tremendously. There's other technologies out there and other sources we can use for instance, what trees do, make paper, furniture, all our wood products.
Right.
We could use hemp.
Right. I think we're slowly turning things in the right direction. One of our problems is we can't seem to control the population.
Yeah, that's the biggest problem.
And that's our fault.
It is our fault. It is our fault. I'm going to take some hypnosis classes so that I'm going to hypnotize everybody that listens to the podcast.
Not to get off track here, well, actually to get back on track, but in that show, there was a man who was seeing these UFO lights, and they did some hypnosis on him and found out he was abducted.
Right, the regression.
Yeah,
Right.
That was amazing. So if you guys want to watch these series, it's called The Alien Highway.
Right.
It's very interesting. A law enforcement officer who saw something or something happened, he spoke out, and he lost his job for it.
Yeah, he was from El Paso County. He was a reserve police officer from El Paso County in El Paso, Texas. And they fired him because he spoke out about what he saw.
Right. He spoke the truth.
And that's what made him start this series. And, you know, and it's cool. I like to see things like that. But anyway, that's what we wanted to share with you tonight.
Yeah.
We hope you enjoyed what we shared with you, and we always appreciate you. And thanks for listening.
Yep. Peace out. Be good people. Be good humans.
Peace.